Here I am waiting. I don't know what this my neighbor's doing. I've seen one of the other dogs running back and forth the road, but he's over there talking, but I can't get by him. So here he comes. I'm making this video about the American Dream. I was like, I wish I could have got him on camera. That's my neighbor. And he didn't even see me sitting there because he was talking to the other neighbor with a little dog that kept running in front of his little car. Because certain areas on this driveway is half a mile long from my house to the main road. So there's only very few spaces that you can pull over to the side and let a vehicle pass, you know. But I just got to thinking because, you know, I've been looking for a job since November and I've got some mobility issues, so I don't qualify for a lot of work that they're hiring for. And I've never had any type of office job, a little bit, but it's been like years ago. And I've always worked production, manufacturing, and now I can still get around pretty good. I got a little job, but I take a chair with me, and I'm kind of wobbly, but I'm having some new issues that hopefully will go away. I got my right foot feels like it's splitting in half. Just the way I walk on it. While I'm sitting down, it don't hurt, but I hadn't took any Tylenol yet, but I might. So I hadn't took anything. This ain't medical advice. But it got me thinking. You know, I went to get some medicine. There's a free clinic. I don't have any insurance. And they did something really crazy where I was working at. They told me to leave November the 10th and go to the doctor because I failed 3 times, but I hadn't failed since March of 2022. But November, I was hurting and I was having to take like Tiger Balm that we could wear shorts. I don't know if it bothered the people. I couldn't help it. I said, I'm sorry, but I was hurting so bad. I was putting Tiger Balm on my knees and I was taking Tylenol about every 2 hours. I was just hurting real bad, my legs. And I've changed one of my medicines so I'm not swelling up as much. But I got some nerve damage and then I got where I couldn't bend my knees and I was bending over. I think it did something to one of my nerves in my back. So I'm kind of feel contorted. So it gives you a different perspective when you're kind of getting out of the main working force and you're having to depend on things. It's almost like going in retirement. And, you know, is it the American dream? Or, you know, is it real? Or is it the American nightmare? And then I talked to my neighbor. Now, he used to live in Florida. And he was there in 2004. They had 4 hurricanes come through. And we live in a world where we think, okay, everything's going fine. Now, this is through his perspective. But then, you know, he loved Florida. He lived in a little trailer with his family. And it made him and his wife move up to where he's my neighbor. And he had a generator. Another neighbor had a generator. And there were 40 families in the little community in the trailer area. And they had no power. The power come on like 48 hours and be gone. He had a well. So him and another neighbor, there was no gas at gas stations. They didn't have it for cars. People line up just enough to get a gas or the generator. And they went through like, you know, a war-torn country. And these people had a hard time surviving. The only thing that was open was the hospitals. It just wiped out the whole area. So that made him move from that hurricane streak area to up here in South Carolina. So, you know, he's got land now. So he's got a little bit of freedom to do some things to kind of survive when the economy gets tight that you wouldn't have had in Florida. You only had a little bit of land. Like if you wanted to grow a hog or raise a cow, have a garden, he's got those opportunities now. So you can, you know, it's work, but you can kind of supplement your bills and everything when you got a little bit of land. So at the clinic, I was talking to some guys, and they said that Washington went to, you know, in a handbasket, and a lot of people moving to Canada just to live. And then I've watched a bunch of blogs where people moving to the Philippines, but then the power goes out all the time, or the roads aren't that good, or traffic. So even though it's cheaper to live, but then the structure's not as good. I mean, every bank store has security at it. You can go down there, and if you're not careful, you can run out of money, and then you're begging people for a plane ticket to get back home. So even though America's not, it's hard, and the working folks, and I guess it's been this way forever, you just don't know what time of your life you're going to be in this situation. I remember I used to get my taxes done, this guy, and he offered me like a little apprenticeship program, but then he hired somebody else that worked with him before. They didn't know they were going to do it. They were working two jobs. Well, they were working a job and worked with him during the week, and all he had the weekends available. And he really didn't have time to show me, but there was some customers that come in there, worked all their lives. They were retired, and they had to pick up like 3 days a week just to make it. He said, man, when you retire, your bills don't retire. So your standard of living has to go way down. And now with, the economy and inflation, eventually, if things don't slack off, it's going to change people's mindset of things. And economy's been pretty good as long as you could work and there were jobs. And, before globalization, where jobs moved overseas, it was pretty good for a little while, maybe 10, 15 years. But now the houses are so high, rent's so high, and a lot of the baby boomers, the people made real good money that, 80, 90,000, and they were doing good. A lot of them are having to support their children, adult children that are in their 30s, 40s, and it's just because the economy is so expensive. So just to live, not even including not going nowhere, just to go get your groceries, your gas, to pay if you own a home, just to keep it up, pay your property tax. That's taking everything. Now, if you wanted to go, vacation or cruise or anything, you just gonna not be able to do it. So it just got me thinking. I know it's a long video, but he's talking about some of his the guy from Florida. Some of his friends went to Mexico, and it was so cheap. But then there's so much civil unrest. So do you want to give up the cheap prices or live cheap and take a chance of being in a civil unrest? It's not really worth it to get cheap food, but then your life's going to be very risky. It's like, what do you do? So we still have the structure over here, but even our politicians have took advantage of us and bought stock, manipulated the stock market publicly. People finally found out that publicly manipulated the stock market of the boards they were serving. They were making laws, and they bought the stock in the company that they were making laws for. So it's very conflict of interest. They're making themselves rich. A lot of people get in power, make themselves rich. And if you're poor, it's hard. So there's, I don't know what you got to make. You probably got to make $80,000 a year in the U.S. just to make it, if you want to do stuff. I spend too much money eating out. I'm in a fortunate situation I could be, but my body's not wanting to work with me. And even at the clinic today, they said, hey, are you a senior yet? I'm 52 almost. But if I was 55, they had programs for 55-year-olds to get them back to work. Now, do they really care about the 55-year-olds? Or it's not political, but just stuff I've heard. It kind of makes you think, when you kind of sit back, you ain't doing nothing, you think, and you hear other people say it. So you kind of wonder, is that true? Where they're talking about, where they're letting all the people, the immigrants come in the country now pretty much unchecked. And they say most of them, they vote for Democrats. I don't think we need who we got in there now, but who knows? I don't think he's running the country anyway. But just the way things are, America's still great, but then they're talking about Social Security. You work all your life for it, and then they're going to cut it. I've read something, they're going to cut it by 25%, so it's not going to get any better, people. You're going to have to come up with 5 or 6 ways, like if you got this app making money, if you got this, and eventually, not maybe religious, but, they talk about the mark of the beast, and everybody had to take this mark. If you take the mark, you go into, hell. This is personal opinion, but you ain't going to be able to shop or buy without it. So you always wondered, they're getting on gun control right now, talking about somebody, I seen a little thing where they edited what Biden said, and he was talking about, well, you don't need an AR-15, you need an F-16 if you're going to fight the government. Well, you don't need a gun to fight anybody because the price is going to be so high, you ain't going to be able to do nothing anyway. So, I love America. I've been here my whole life. And I want it to work. I love the convenience that we have. Like, I was listening to a blog in the Philippines, and he's talking about, he likes smoke cigarettes. Well, when he first got there, I think he's been there 6 years. But when he went to the Philippines, he went to the gas station. There was no cigarettes. He said, well, where's the cigarettes? He said, you got to go to another store for that. So a lot of things down there wasn't organized or centralized, and their time frame is different. He said he was in the grocery store, and they were ringing up his groceries. He had 5 items, and my wife and them come home. I told him I was gonna make a video, but he had 5 items. Well, they rang up 4, and the cashier heard something from another cashier, so she tried to help. So she stopped ringing up the groceries, and for about 5-10 minutes, she got in a conversation, and the guy's retired, so he didn't really have nowhere to go. But their urgency and efficiency of service, what time they're going to be somewhere. But I think in a way that's healthy, but that's the culture. So they're able to not be stressed out, or be under a lot of pressure, because they don't worry about getting there on time and all. But, you got 6 people living on $200, and some of the stuff is more expensive than it is here because it's imported, and they have some civil unrest, the power, the structure, so you'd have to put up with that. But they say $1,500 a month, you live good, but then you got to deal with the culture, the lifestyle, and not having things that, like the guy also said in his blog, like we got Walmart, if it's, the service might not be up to par, but at least if you want groceries, haircut, something done in your car, nail salon, it's like it's like a mall now. Like, you can get everything, mostly everything. But Philippines, if you want all that stuff, you're going to have to go maybe 15 minutes in between different places, and you're going to have to go everywhere. And he even said, like, some of the festivals we got here, like one guy's got fried chicken, one guy's got ribs, food from all over the world. And here in America, you can get all the variety. But if they have like a festival in the Philippines, you can get spaghetti. You go to the next one, you get spaghetti. You go to the next one, you get spaghetti. So it's more of the same quantity of items. And he's even in the Philippines. Now, according to this guy's blog, the restaurant he went to, they go in there. Yeah, the guy said that they'll be in a restaurant and they ask for water. And then 10 minutes later, they hadn't got the water yet. Or the ice machine won't be working. So you might have to wait a long time to get water, like 20, 30 minutes. So the restaurants, the service is not, on par. They do it kind of at their own leisure. And then if you want to pay, you got to find somebody to get them to get the bill. So it's a different culture, and the efficiency is not there. But, you know, with inflation, it's affecting everybody's life. The main thing, you can't depend on a system to be forever. I mean, you can look at history, you can look at all the governments that fell, all the wars, things change. Nothing is guaranteed. You know, the only thing that's guaranteed is, and this is my beliefs, so no objections, Jesus Christ. That's the only thing that will be here forever. But trying to survive in the world, and you got to educate yourself to find out how to survive, and, you know, whatever it is, groceries, taking care of your health and body, because eventually your health's going to go downhill. So having good health, you're able to do stuff, and maximizing your time, find what you want to do, you know, enjoy it, no matter where you are in the world. You know, your family, being able to get along with people, maximize your time, you know, learn what you can't be, just like the little grasshopper. There's a story about a grasshopper who had played and ate and had a good time, and he didn't really do anything. And the little ant, the whole time the ant was gathering up food and working and going to school and trying to learn and being in the community and being industrious. Well, then something bad happened. The little ant would survive, and the grasshopper did without. He went hungry. So, you know, if you're a grasshopper, you're going to go hungry. If you're the ant, the worker ant, you'll survive. But it's tough. You know, you got to deal with people's emotions, and a lot of people, like my neighbor said, a lot of people are young, and they look and say, what can I get? You know, what can I do with this money? And, you know, how much money I can make? And, you know, they're fed possibilities, but most people aren't going to attain that. Technology is getting so cheap that if the government doesn't pass a law saying you have to have at least, not really affirmative action, but human action, I guess, or real people. If you don't pass a law that says 80% of your employees have to be human, the way capitalism is in America, they're going to try to make things so cheap. But the bad thing is, okay, say if you don't make 80% human, so 80% of the workers can at least support themselves, you're going to make this stuff so cheap. Well, if they do it in America, they'll do it other places even cheaper. So then that'll be outsourced to the other countries, but you're going to have something where those companies are going to have to be, where they laid off all these people, they're going to have to invest money in like free clinics, food banks, you know, all this stuff to support people that don't have a job. So you're going to have a public welfare, but they're saying with technology it'd be so plentiful and so cheap. But with technology, who's going to have a job? What are you going to do? You know, people going to go back to trade and say, well, I need some grass for my horse. Well, you cut your grass for the horse, and then, you know, I'll give you a ride to work. I mean, what are you going to do? Trade and barter, like growing your own food. At least you would have a supply of food. But as far as capitalism, if nobody's got any money and things keep changing, right now everybody spends all their money doing everything. But I've even noticed restaurants are getting less and less people in it. It's getting tighter and tighter, you know, and I don't think they're dying off. But and plus you're only going to live, hopefully, most people I've noticed are dying in their 80s. A lot of them don't make it to the 80s, you know, some young people, but technically 80s, maybe by the time I get there, it might be the 90s. But I was feeling pretty good like 2 years ago, and now I had a lot of things that I have so much pain. You know, I can still walk, but I'm wincing certain things, but I'm trying to work on it. I'm still trying to work on health. You know, they say exercise, do this and do that, but if you got pain, you can't do nothing. So, you know, I can't afford to go to the pool. That's why I said, even though you can make it, it's tight. You know, eating the beanie weenies and all that, kind of like a college lifestyle. You know, but the people going to college are paying all this money, getting debt, credit cards, and then, you know, when you're in debt, you're a slave to the lender. So, you know, what are they going to do? They're going to put you in debt for life, and your whole generation's going to just have to do what they want you to forever. I don't understand how people making it, man. The rent, $3,000. I mean, you got power. You got food at the grocery store right now, but is it the American dream or the American nightmare? And my daughter's over here. She told me I got to get off the phone because you're grandbabies. Quit making videos. But I just wanted to share my thoughts and see what you think if you had time to watch this video. I mean, I believe America's still great. You know, the country's done a lot of wrong things, but so has every other country in the world. And all histories, everybody's always done bad things. We're human. Some people do good things. A lot of people do bad things. And a lot of people say, oh, I can do that. You got one person has a great business, and then when they pass on, it changes. You know, people's ideas change. New social norms or what people like or what they accept, it changes. And, you know, the old fights the new. But you got to survive, but you never know what system you're going to be in. All over the world, they got different systems, different cultures, different beliefs. And, you know, America's, the money was still number one with America, but really you got these other people that buy all this stuff, so they're number one, and they start controlling things. You know, but you got to figure out how to survive, and just, you know, I believe, you know, Jesus Christ, he's my Savior, and you should just do that. So when you die, according to my beliefs, you go to heaven and you'll be with the Lord and God and Jesus. And I don't know what we'll be doing forever, but you know, that's my ultimate retirement plan. Some people think I'm crazy. There's a lot of people that don't even believe that, or they believe totally different, which is fine. But, you know, that gives me hope. You know, but with the kids now, your parents, you worry, say, you know what you went through. And your parents knew what they went through, and things change, and you're like, man, how are my children going to survive? And you look at their lives, and you're like, well, they're making it. They made it another day. And you're like, wow. And then you look at the grandchildren, and they hadn't even gone through this yet. And you're like, how are they going to survive? But somehow we've all survived. There's 8 billion people in the world, so somehow we're getting through this no matter what system we live in. But things change, and then there's uproar, and then the whole economy changes. You know, money becomes not value, and then it gets valuable. And then, like, Greece had a hard time years ago, and you don't know if one country bought all the stocks and wrecked the economy, or, you know, what happened. But now there's a guy I work with, and he's going to retire. He owns a house in Greece. He's talking about retiring there. And then they're giving certain incentives now to get people in there because so many people left. They're giving almost a free house just to come over there and live. And certain places are doing that. They're offering people a very good incentive just to get people in there because certain things happen that nobody wanted to be there. They left because it was so harsh. But now they're trying to build it back up. So, you know, even if things fail, like, we're real resilient as a human species. Like that guy's talking about 4 hurricanes. They went through all that. He decided to move away from that area, so he didn't have to deal with that. You know, that weather pattern. And we're real resilient where we can change, we can modify our surroundings, we can go to school. Hopefully we can get a job. You just got to keep trying. I keep applying. Now, it's harder for me because I'm older and I don't have the experience in what I want to go for, but there's still things to do. Like, I got a little truck. I don't know how much, if anybody has an idea, I thought about you got these commercial people that do it, which is real cheap. But I got some issues with lifting stuff, so I said, well, I was going to charge people to come pick their trash up, but it already has to be bagged, and then maybe I could pick it out and throw it in a collection center. As long as I didn't do it too much, but it'd be enough to give me a little extra money. Because when you start making a shopping list. Because used to, people go into Walmart. I used to be a door greeter. People go into Walmart and say, man, I come in here and bought like $100 worth. Now it'd be like $300 worth. And, but they're making like, even Sam's Club, most of their members got to make $70,000 a year on average. That's what kind of goal. So when you make 40 or 30 or less than 20, you look at this thing like, how in the world is people making 70? And one guy told me in somewhere in Washington, he worked for the Pentagon. Somewhere up there, they had stores, and some of these suits were $5,000, and just astronomical prices. And you're like, that's a car. That was a car back then. You get a good car years ago, probably one now for $5,000. It'll last you if you take care of it. So it just makes you wonder, if you don't want to buy all that luxury items and be poor, but you just trying to survive. And, I only work 19 hours a week. So I only make like $360 total. So everything's paid off, but still, it's tight. I ain't got no insurance. I don't know if I told this in the video. Maybe I did. I'll say it again just in case, and when I get a chance after the grandbaby's gone, I'll try to edit it. But, my job, I went on short-term disability, like in November, and then, so I hadn't been to the doctor. I went a couple of times. Well, I went to all these doctors and trying to get inserts in my shoes, and I found out my feet were deformed from birth, which I didn't know. I've been walking on them all my life, but I've always walked funny. So, I went to the, they laid me up. They told me to leave work November 10th. So I started going to the doctor when I could get an appointment, trying to figure out, they doing blood work. And so they put me on some sugar medicine. I didn't realize I was a diabetic. I kind of knew, but not, I was in denial for about a year or two. So they put me on some medicine, and they tried to give me something for my nerve pain in my legs, and I had the side effects were worse than not taking anything, but, and then I went to a bunch of doctors, lots and lots of money. My insurance paid, I had to pay anything. Well, they told me when my short term ran out, I was going to go into long term, but none of the doctors would do long term. But then I had no insurance to go to the doctor. The only rights you have is to work, save money, try to prepare yourself and your family, and survive the best way you can, no matter where you're at, and make it to another day. That's all you can do, and have a retirement plan beyond this life to go to, because this life is, it's gone, man, or anything can change in a blink of an eye. And whatever you're struggling at, try to make yourself better. And if you're doing good, try to set yourself up so when you don't do good, you'll be able to last on that, ride that wave. And don't do anything stupid. Like a lot of people retire to go and do things they've never done or thought about doing, and then, don't put yourself in a situation like even a young person that would have trouble doing it. Try to be safe. Don't be speeding and talking on the phone while you're driving, and if you can help it, and just try to operate within the means of your physical environment, because physics is not forgiving. You run off the road wasn't designed for a car, so something's gonna happen. Not taking care of your health, being upset around the wrong people, anything. So try to survive, educate yourself, learn all you can. A lot of stuff people used to know before smartphones. But just think about how bad it'd be if satellites went down, no internet. Nobody would know nothing. So you'd have to depend on somebody. You know what? And all these people would have all these opinions of what works, but nothing would work. And so you need to learn. You need to learn some knowledge to take care of yourself. I might get me a garden, just help with some food and vegetables. Got to grow lots of corn, but I don't really have a lot of land. But it's mostly trees. But just take care wherever you're at. Try to make it not be a nightmare. Try to make it a dream come true.